everybody. I want to welcome you back to Dynamic Decisions, the podcast where we explore strategies that drive success and where we know that good conversations lead to good decisions. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have a remarkable guest who is a true leader in global alliances, Miss GraceAnn. She is the Vice President of Alliances and Business Development at nClouds. She has over 30 years experience in architecting strategic partnerships and driving transformative growth. Grace has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. Grace, welcome to the show. I am thrilled to have you here. Tell us more about the work that you are doing at nClouds and beyond.
Awesome to be here. Tisha, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really, really excited to be chatting with you. I've been with Ed and Clouds only about 10 months now, and it has been totally transformative in my life. And in addition to Ed Clouds, I actually am involved with a group by the name of SheCan, which is truly transforming the way women help each other in alliances and partnerships.
Let's go.
And I am like thrilled to be here.
Thank you. We're not going to waste any time. First of all, I love the idea of She Can. I don't know if you know it, but I was a partner of an organization called We Can that had a similar mission. So it's really cool to see women stepping up in these spaces and saying, we're going to have seats at the table and we're going to make sure that even not just the companies, but all the partnership and alliance groups that they also recognize where women need to have seats at the table. So fantastic. Let's dig in. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you believe is the most critical element for brands to succeed through strategic partnerships today?
Wow, that's a big question, right? I really do think it's so fundamentally simple, and that is transparency and honesty. Really not overselling yourself, coming to the table with like truly who you are, what you do in the world, what differentiates you, even if it's a very small differentiation. It's like just like why would you want to work with me as opposed to this other partner over here? And having those conversations and really like I said, it's all about honest communication, open communication about what you can and can't do. Don't I can't stress enough, don't oversell yourself, especially to your partners, right? Because it's that old adage, right? It takes time to build relationships and it only takes one bad move to break them.
Come on.
So,
It's so
yeah,
unfortunate. Yeah.
amen to that. So I would just say that I think from partners, it's like, and don't try to be all things to all people. It's just you will certainly kill yourself trying to do that. I've seen partners try to do that, right? They have all these different partnerships and yeah, they have great partners. They have 50 partners. You know what? They're probably really only working with 5 of those 50. So just be great to those 5.
Okay, so that actually leads us to where I want to go next, which is talk about, can you give us some of your insights on how aligning these partnership strategies with business goals can actually drive growth? What types of decisions do you find yourself making that directly impact how these partnerships enhance the value for your customers?
Right. So there's like 3 rules, right? It's like scale your business, scale your team, right? And so a real partnership will help you scale those 3 things. So some of the decisions I make, it's very easy. Like I have a lot of relationships after being in the channel for a long time. It's really easy to say like, "Oh, I want to work with you," to a friend, right? Or someone that you've worked with that you really respect. But at the end of the day, I always have to think back to what are my core competencies? What's my team's core competencies, right? Like nClouds, we do migrations, right? And we do modernization for companies. They're trying to modernize their applications, and we're really great with security and compliance in the cloud and beyond, right? So if just start creating partnerships with just anybody, does my team who's actually doing the work want to work with them? I mean, that's like number one question, right? So my decisions always start with from a partnership, from when I'm building partnerships, my decision always starts with, does my team want to work with them? That's my first question. My second question is, what can they give my team that they don't already have? How can they help my team scale? And then My third question is, how do we make money together? Right? Because the partnership, I want to make money. I want to make sure that that's at the very beginning of our conversations. Like that's not a secondary conversation. That's a how do we make money? And at the very, very core thing of that with nClouds, it really starts with what does my customer need? So that's something I learned at my time at AWS. I have to say that my time there was really valuable because they have these leadership principles. And the leadership principles are not just talk. They truly do live by them. And it was something that was always said in every meeting, in every idea, in every strategy session. How does this help my customer? And I will tell you that our CEO, Kelly, that's all he ever cares about. He's like, how does that help my customer? And it really does ground you.
It really is a way of aligning. So, just for the audience, what you just heard, actually, and I'm going to go back a little bit to recap because I want to make sure you guys don't miss any of these nuggets that Grace Ann spelled out for us. So, transparency, honesty, you can't be all things for all people. Scale yourself, scale your business, scale your team. Understanding your core competency, and then the main one, which is when you start thinking about alignment, your alignment questions are, what does this do for my customer? How does this help my customer? Does my team want it? How does this help us to scale? This is great. You can just keep on going. You're like, "Frank, this is fantastic." Like for me, just listening to that and then kind of applying your AWS experience, we went through an AWS program as a company and they introduced us to their leadership strategy development platform, including the ways by which this finds itself in real life in the company. Can you tell me more about how you apply frameworks for high stakes decisions when you're navigating complex things, especially things as complex as partner ecosystems? How do you actually apply frameworks to that?
So I don't know if this is going to be a popular answer with you, but a framework is great to make sure that I've ticked the box, right? But I would tell you that a lot of times my decisions, because I've been in the industry so long, and because I've been in tech so long, a lot of the decisions are like, I know how to do this, and then the framework is something I go back to double check myself that it's not a bias, right? It's not a I'm doing this because this is what I believe. I'm doing this because this actually has worked and it's going to work again, right? And looking at actual results to make sure that I'm not being biased because and I've gotten called on that before. It's like, I don't want to hear I think, right? And I'm like, oh, but I think only because I know, right? Because I've gone through those check marks. So the framework is used to like what I talked about before, like how does this help my customer, right? How do we make money together while serving that customer? Are they in alignment from a personality perspective? Because that helps too. Like, will our teams work well together? And so there's this like, this framework that I go through. Are they providing scale to something I'm doing? So that all comes into play, I would say, after I intuitively kind of know where I'm going. And then I go, okay, let me double check on that because I might be being biased in my opinion. So that might not be right. And so then I will go and try to find the data to back that up. If I find that, oh, okay, didn't tick that box.
So this is a really good process. I think that what's interesting about what you just said is the length of time that one spends doing something, you start to develop a certain level of expertise, which then informs your gut. We found that, right? So balanced decision making, which you're demonstrating now, and we're going to have an exercise later where we kind of go, what percentage are you? It does include using some of your gut and then also using some of the other elements of decision making, including driving through data, assessing what happened in the past. But one of the questions that kind of led up to me when when you're driven in as much as you are by your expertise and your experience, how do you actually show others that it's not a think, but it's a no? How do you actually track the outcomes of major decisions?
Wow. So there's KPIs and everything that we do. In fact, I just got off a call with one of the folks that works for me and was showing him why certain data points are important and how it affects the business. So there are definitely KPIs. And I'll just give you an example. Something that you may do one day, maybe it got you a lot of results, right? You got a number of things coming in, but the amount of money that each of those opportunities were making was really small. So you're looking at, oh, how many opportunities is it driving? And then what's my cost per opportunity or I would say revenue per opportunity, sorry. And so I'll always balance it with that. So I always look at those types of KPIs. And there's like, hard and fast rules. With AWS, I may be looking at things like, is this driving um, transactions on the AWS marketplace? And then I'll be looking at, are those transactions actually making us nClouds money? Are they helping my customer transact faster? All of those things need to go into it. So there's definitely a number of KPIs that you have to balance and check along the way.
Where does the financial model play in there for you? How much do you lean to what the financial model says?
A lot. Good enough answer. So yeah, I mean, there are things that I do and to continue to do even though it's not big player type thing. It might not make us a lot of money, but it may have different impact and it's a soft impact. For instance, Tisha, I may put something together that is helping Tisha out. And it's because I am invested in Tisha. And so I know that long term Tisha's going to be really she's going to be really successful. And so this little blip here is me helping her get there, and then I know she's going to remember the things I did for her along the way.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, definitely revenue goes into everything we do because you don't want to continue to do things that aren't actually moving the needle from a business perspective. But unless it's a Tisha cost, right?
So tell me, when someone like you is in an organization and you bring vast amounts of experience and expertise, how does the company that you work for, how are they going to keep institutional knowledge, the stuff that you're going to develop and support them with doing over the course of, how are they going to preserve that? Because let's say, because the current generations, they tend to move along a little faster,
Yes, they do. Like 2,
right?
3
So
years,
how do you
right?
keep that institutional knowledge around?
So it's really funny you say that because I actually, when I took this job at nClouds, I replaced a man by the name of Randy Newell, who had been here 7 years. He was retiring, and I was instantly when I got here, I was instantly like, "Oh, I would never let him leave." Right? Because he had that institutional he is really good, and he has recently gone on his retirement, and it's funny, I was like, "My gosh, he has so much knowledge about the company and where the bodies are buried and all of that other good stuff, but we're doing okay." So one of the things that has actually started in me is that we don't really have a lot of that stuff documented. The stuff that Randy was doing, the actual work that Randy was doing that was moving the needle and in revenue. And so I'm working with my team now to document all of the workflows and everything, and then it'll be put on a my word of the year is transparency, right? I want everybody to know what I'm doing. Because Tisha, maybe you're not in my line of work, but you may have like an aha moment that really helps me when you read through it. You might think of something I haven't thought of.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process now of making sure that we keep that institutional knowledge because let's face it, I am actually at the tail end of my career. I'm hoping to retire in, the 3 to 5 year range, hopefully in the 3 year range. But I wanna make sure I'm invested in nCloud success. These are the nicest group of people I've ever worked with. They're so caring and smart, and I've worked at different companies where they might have had a really great delivery team and a nice sales team, but not really an effective sales team. And here, I feel like everybody is kind of moving in the same direction. We all are so passionate about our work. We all work hard. We all care about our coworkers' success.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure when I do leave in 3 to 5 years, hopefully I'll be there that long, that the person that replaces me has everything that they need to either maintain the knowledge or
That's right.
change the process, right? Like, they may have better ideas. Anyway, that's sort of something that I'm
Well,
trying.
it's a perfect concept because what happens is if you leave and someone has to start over, that's not a good thing. That's not necessarily a great reflection of the work that you've done there. But when you leave and people can keep moving, then that means that you've essentially set up really good systems, processes, and made some good decisions along the way. We often get that wrong
Yeah.
as leaders. We think we want the company, if something should happen, we don't want them to do well without us, but that's opposite. We actually do want them to do well because then that means the work we did was of good quality.
It's really funny that you say that because so when I left to another company that I worked for, I actually went to the extent that I recorded my clicks on a screen of how we did it, and I put voiceover to it and left it. And a couple weeks later, my manager called me and is like, That stuff was gold. Thank you. And I was like, "You're welcome." And I spent 17 years in an advertising agency, and, I literally trained my team to do my job.
Yes.
And when I got laid off, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." I'm like, "No, I can. It's a smart business move."
It's a smart business move. That's what your work, quote unquote, legacy really is about, right? If everything breaks because you're not, then you didn't build anything to scale. Things are repeatable without your hands on it. Amazing, good quality stuff. So I just want to tell our audience really quickly to think about strategic partnerships that you've established or ones that you've admired and what decisions made those partnerships successful. Share those thoughts with us on LinkedIn or other social media and hashtag Dynamic Decisions Podcast when you do it. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. And I want to talk about creativity and innovation a little bit. Tell me what kind of decisions are you making? And it's probably not a day-to-day decision, but just what are you doing to kind of keep your team engaged in innovation and thinking creative?
Well, I think from a team perspective, I can tell you what I do for myself, but from getting my team there, I think it's inviting them to the table, right?
That's good.
I have a new team, primarily a new team, and I put together a document just this morning that basically says, "Here are your accomplishments. These are your goals you want to attain, and then what are the blockers?" But then I'm also sharing mine because then like they might it's amazing when you invite people to the table, and especially the younger generation, giving them a voice. You can learn from other people. Just because I'm quote unquote a leader doesn't mean I have all the answers. I'm a mother, but I don't know all the answers for my children, right? And I learn what most from them. Like, I've learned about forgiveness from them. I've learned a lot from my children. So I kind of take that into my work life too. As far as keeping myself creative and
Yeah.
strategic, this is going to be kind of woo woo, but I
I like woo woo. Keep
okay, good, good. Because I learned this from a wonderful podcaster named Danette May. I actually was, part of her premium coaching for a while, and it's having soul time in the
Mm,
morning. It's taking, even if it's 15 minutes, for me, it's God. It can be whoever for you, but for me, it's spending some time quiet with God. It's
yes.
journaling in the affirmative, what I am accomplishing that day. It's walking outside barefoot and watching the sunrise. It's petting my dog. It's sitting in silence. It's telling my husband to be quiet until after I've had my soul time. So I think just having that time to center and listen to yourself. There's an old expression, if you're talking, you can't possibly be listening and hearing.
That's
And
good.
so listen, just like sit and listen. And then recently I started watercolor painting. I'm teaching myself how to watercolor paint. I do think that that helps you be, a little more open to new creative ideas.
I like it. So, okay. So I want to go back for the audience just a little bit and hype a few things. So one, in getting others involved, KPIs are good. So the things that you measure, you can come back and take a look at, and you can share that information. It becomes objective. So that's good. The other is inviting people to the table. So leadership is not just about being at the top and not sharing your successes and failures and actually learning from the people on your team. And then I really love this one about soul time because it's not even just for leaders. I think that every individual in every circumstance should have soul time. And your suggestion of journaling or finding some hobbyish like painting, even writing poetry, something like that is great. And I'm just going to anchor it because for me in Birmingham, Alabama, we have the best sunrises and sunsets. And I think every other day I'm taking a photograph of the sunrise and sunset. And it's a great way to remind ourselves that the day does not start and end with us. And so, wow, that's really good. Okay. We're going to move into our next area, which is all about identifying your decision making persona. So, we've given some of this up a little bit earlier because you kind of talked in this language, but here's what you're going to do. I'm going to tell you a question about starting a partnership, and you're going to tell me how much of your decision making looks like, how much do you resonate with that question as like a question you would ask. only get 100% total. And every one of these, there are 4 questions. You get to rate them 0 to 100%. Okay.
Got it.
All right. So the first one is going to be, hey, we're considering a new partnership. How do we ensure that it aligns with our core values and strengthens our relationships with our customers? What percentage of you would ask that question like that?
I would say 50%.
That's 50%. So that's a feeler, right? And we know feelers live a lot with gut. And we talked about the impact of timing on that, how long you've been doing something, how much experience you have in a particular area. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, here's the next one. Reflecting on last year's partnership initiatives, what specific trends or insights have we uncovered that could significantly influence our next strategic move?
I think 30%.
30%. That's called a planner. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Hey, we're evaluating our previous partnerships. What key lessons have we learned that have fundamentally changed our current decision making process?
Ugh, I'm gonna have to change my first 50 to 30.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be another 30.
30. Okay. Okay. This is good. I'll tell you why in just a moment how good
Okay.
this actually is. All right. And here's your last one. As we formulate our new partnership strategies, what specific data points are we going to rely on to
No,
validate our decisions?
no, I'm gonna make them all 25.
They're all 25.
I think so. I think I start with the more emotional sort of, gut feeling, but I
Yeah,
think that I'm constantly using those others to balance.
that's good. Okay, let me give you your final tally and tell you what it means. So you are 25% feeler, 25% planner, 25% counter, and 25% data driven. And that is exactly what it's supposed to be. So you have a very balanced decision making. But here's the thing, that probably comes with years and years and years of experience, that comes with knowing certain things about your purpose and about yourself. So there's a lot of things that come into play. You rarely talk to anyone that's really got a process for balancing through all 4, nor does anyone have to be,
Right.
right? Because it also depends on what you're doing, depends on, right, so many different elements. So we do want balance, but there could be a million reasons why it's not. So to the listeners, just in case you're not 25% down the line, don't you worry. It's just a matter of what you're doing and who you are that really makes this determination. So fantastic. So this leaves me, thank you so much for doing that. It's my fun little exercise that I like to do. Let's get to the very last question that I want to ask. So I usually ask the question about the decision that you believe leaders in your industry will need to make. And I want to keep that frame, right? What decisions are leaders in your industry going to need to make? But the lens I want to give it through is through this article I read in the Harvard Business Review, where it talked about a problem with sustainable business growth, right? Businesses struggling to live, and the cause of it being that most companies' growth problems are self-inflicted. They approach growth in a highly reactive and opportunistic manner. So what I'd like to ask you is, do you agree with this solution that they provide? To grow profitably over the long term, companies need a strategy that addresses 3 key decisions: how fast to grow, the rate of growth, where to seek new sources of demand, the direction of growth, and how to amass the resources needed to grow, the method of growth. And if you could think about this through the lens of your industry and the kinds of decisions that leaders are making, give me your assessment of whether or not you agree, disagree, and what are some of the things that business leaders in your industry need to be thinking about?
It's funny. I somewhat agree with this. I think I've seen this whole thing where it's self-inflicted pain on a company, on its people. I think sometimes financial decisions are made without looking at the big picture or long term, right? So it's like, oh, maybe we didn't make our numbers for 2 quarters. And so we need to get rid of this whole this. And then what happens is maybe you did need to get rid of that arm of your business. But what happens is that kinda almost starts a disease through your entire team, and so that's why I think the company fails because now you've lost trust with the other folks, and also there's fear, right? And that's not good. And so I think leaders need to be transparent with their teams about where the business is, what they're trying to accomplish. And again, it goes back to my giving people a seat at the table and not just your leadership. And I actually think Kelly, who's our CEO, does a really great job of that. Pretty flat organization in terms of allowing people to have a voice. He literally will call somebody out on an all company call to say like, "What do you think about that?" And it's awesome, right? And I think as leaders we need to remember to check our ego at the door. I mean, I have to do it to myself sometimes, honestly. You're giving me suggestions, I should just shut up and listen. I think that's the most important thing for leaders in this day and age too, because there's so much change and it's happening really fast. It's happening a lot faster than it used to, especially like if you think about AI and Gen AI and all of that other good stuff. So I would say open communication is the most important thing. See? And I mean, you don't need to tell everybody like all the gory details, but some transparency about what you're trying to do. And then just giving everybody a voice.
I love it. So thank you so much for being so insightful today, Grace. This has been so wonderful. Your expertise in partnerships and in strategy has been really inspiring, and I've just appreciated chatting with you. And to our listeners, we thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. And if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate it, share it with your network, and let's keep these conversations going. Use social media, hashtag Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Thank you so much. Grace, would you tell everyone where they can reach you and find you?
There's 2 places I'd say you can look for me with Shecan. Shecan is part of pecan.cloud. We are on LinkedIn and we are a women's affinity group led by Lisa Lee. You can find me on LinkedIn, GraceAnn De Cesaris. Not an easy one. So that's why I recommended the Shecan first. But GraceAnn De Cesaris is on LinkedIn.
So until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and leading with purpose. Thank you so much.